All right, glad to have you back. Now, manufacturers in Nigeria, according to a report, have expressed lack of confidence in the nation's economic outlook for August 2024. This is according to the latest business expectations survey conducted by the CBN. The survey, which involves 1,600 business enterprises, reveals that while many sectors are optimistic about the economy, manufacturing sector was notably pessimistic. Now, the report highlights that manufacturing sector posted negative confidence index, reflecting ongoing concerns about the entire business climate. But what is the reaction of the major players in the Nigerian manufacturing industry? Well, I have joining me live from Ikeja, Lagos, the Director General of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadiri, M.A.N. Good afternoon. DG, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining the program.
Thank you, Tolu, for always having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yes, I think it's good to start with this report, just the way I saw it, and I shared it, we discussed it. Are we going to agree to this with the reality on what is on ground, or what is the position of M.A.N on this report? Let me ask that way.
So I think it's a very good thing that we have seen the CBN engaged in, because we have always indicated that it is good for government agencies or institutions to step back and assess the impact of their policies on the stakeholders. So I think what the CBN has done now is to gauge the confidence level of manufacturers and to see how probably their policies and those of government are impacting on business. And I must tell you that the result is not different from what our own Manufacturers Confidence Index, MCCI, that we do on quarterly basis. I think there's a convergence as to what the results are, and it is to the effect that manufacturers are becoming less confident about the economy and what the future portends. You will see, for instance, that other sectors are more optimistic than the manufacturing sector, and that is because of the impact of government policies, some of them also global trends, but more of the impact of government policies that are yet to be assuaged in terms of government response on the impact of its reform on manufacturing industries and the sector in general.
Okay, DG, I wasn't really hearing. I don't know. I think we need to project a bit from your end. But my next question will be, can we do an assessment of the business climate at the moment and highlight some of the major challenges manufacturers are grappling with at this time?
Now? Wow, it's most unfortunate. And we are hearing each other.
Can you hear me now, DG?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I'm talking about the current business climate. Can we do an overview and highlight the major challenges that you think maybe would have led to this report? Because they said they spoke to about 1,600 manufacturers.
Yes, I think that most of the challenges have had to do with more recent developments. You will recall that earlier in the year, we predicted that in the second half of the year, manufacturing performance will improve. And that was because we felt that the immediate fallout of government policies taken last year that will have adjusted, and that in the second half of the year, we will see a moderation of the negative impact, and then we'll continue to witness some adjustment and consequently improvement in the second half of the year. That prediction is not falling through, and we are now having to put our expectation in the last quarter of the year. Some of those challenges, for instance, has been the unmanaged impact of foreign exchange exposure of most of our members. You recall that we still have the 2.4 billion forward contracts that have not been redeemed by government, which has led to massive losses suffered by most of our members, particularly the big guys. You can see them declare losses resulting from their foreign exchange exposure. We've also seen the impact of the more than 250% increase in the price of electricity. I mean, this has negatively impacted on business. Most of our members now don't operate up to 12 hours. We've continued to have average supply and quality of supply very low, which has even now forced most of our members to rely on alternative source of energy with the attendant impact on their cash flow. We've also seen the impact of insecurity take its toll, particularly on our logistics, which everyone agrees is limiting business flow. We've also had, again, the issue of the interest rate, which the central bank has continued to raise, and manufacturers are borrowing at more than 30%, which is not good for business. There's hardly any manufacturing business you can do. You borrow at 30%. I don't know what you'll be producing that you'll be able to make a reasonable profit. At our last Manufacturers' Confidence Index, we had multiple taxation by different tiers of government becoming the highest challenge that we have in terms of its impact on our businesses. So all of these have combined with the anxiety that we normally have about what is going to happen tomorrow, because we keep on having disruptions in the economic landscape that makes planning very difficult. You are also aware of the negative signals that some of the regulatory agencies in government have continued to dish out to manufacturers. I mean, what comes freshly to mind is the issue of how the Dangote refinery was treated. It was becoming a very difficult thing, and if not for the resilience of the Dangote industry, we will have had them suffer a stillbirth. And that is not good for business. It doesn't send the right signals. And so the interest and the confidence of manufacturers have been dampened. I believe all of those have combined to result in this law, which is making us to defer our positive expectations of the performance of the economy to the last quarter of the year. I believe that the solution to some of these problems have actually been outlined in the stabilization plan of government, which the coordinating minister is championing. I believe we need to put speed to action so that we will be able to address these challenges and bring down the lack of optimism that we have in this very important sector that has the capacity to help government to resolve some of its issues, including the paucity of forex, including improving employment generation and payment of taxes to government that will shore up the finances that government has for so many of its programs, particularly the development of infrastructure. So there are quite a number of challenges that are responsible for this outlook, which the CBN itself has revealed. And I believe that in terms of reducing this lack of confidence, the CBN may look inward and do something about the interest rate. The expectation is that we should no longer raise the interest rate. Evidence has shown now that it's counterproductive and it's not helping the productive sector. I think this message by now will be very clear to CBN, so we are not expecting any raises tomorrow. There's also the need to completely clear the forwards that the CBN has continued to hold against manufacturers for absolutely no fault of theirs. I think if there were infractions, those people should be called out and punished. But those who have not committed any infraction should be completely redeemed so that they can get on with their businesses. We should also revisit the issue of an increase in the cost of electricity. Now, apart from industries being impacted, you have a situation where the lives of the average Nigerian is being devalued. People now resort to not using power. People are resorting to cutting down on their production hours. People are resorting to not using power for their various businesses. And the increase in the price of petrol is not helping. But you see, all of those we know are necessary impact of reforms, but there has to be mitigating factors that will help the businesses to survive. We can't continue to hope that we will have remedy in the, next year, as I've had even on this program. We need to survive now to be able to guarantee the future. And I'm actually very worried about the rate of demise of manufacturing industries at this time. I think we need to check it. As at the last time we checked, unsold inventory in manufacturing industries is about 1.2 trillion. People are not able to buy our products. And many of them will be nearing their shelf life in the last quarter of the year and will have to suffer the cost of disposal. So I believe some of these issues need to be centrally resolved. I could also recall that there was a Federal Executive Council meeting where it was specifically indicated that government was going to engage the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. We believe that it is time we have this very straight conversation so that we'll be able to address the low-hanging fruits that will improve the performance of the sector. Otherwise, what we are just seeing in the display of lack of confidence will continue to degenerate, and we may just end up deindustrializing the country that has the potential of being the industrial hub for West Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa.
So, but DG, have there been direct interventions following the economic policies of government? I know on this show we've talked about the 75 billion naira that's supposed to be for 75 manufacturers and other interventions directly focused on revamping the manufacturing space and, giving you the capacity to employ more people. How far are we with these interventions? Where are we with some of them?
I think the 5 billion naira is one of the success stories of this administration. I can confirm to you that the monies are firmly in the vault, if I may use the word, of the BOI. And the managing director is doing an excellent job in collaborating with us. We are in the process of concluding on the MOU. The loans are being disbursed, and we are certain that they will go to manufacturers. Now, 75 billion, you agree with me. M.A.N has 2,500 members, but it's a good way to start. And I believe that with the diligence that we have seen the BOI display, we are certainly going to have judicious application of those funds. They will go to the right people, and we'll be able to measure the impact. We'll cooperate fully with the BOI to deliver on this. And this, I believe, will encourage the government to go ahead with its 1 trillion naira component of the stabilization plan, which we expect to be similarly disbursed through BOI, so that manufacturers will be able to have at least some relief in that aspect of a paucity of funds and the high interest rate that the regular banks have continued to give. I'm actually worried that in the books of the banks, it continues to go green, while the books of the manufacturers have continued to show red. I don't think that should be the priority of our economic outlook. We should deliberately incentivize manufacturing. Dangote, one of the groups of Dangote, I think is Dangote Cement, the tax that is paid to government last year is more than the entire tax that was paid by the banking sector. So all of them put together. So I think that we need to put our money where our mouth is, and it is very, very important for us to prioritize the revival of this sector. The joy of having a CBN survey reveal this lack of confidence should send very clear signals to government that this sector need not be allowed to degenerate. Nigeria has the best capacity in West Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa to deliver on its manufacturing. And it is all these limiting factors that have not allowed the full actualization of these potentials. We can't continue to live on potentials for decades. I believe that this administration, having brought the private sector together with the economic management team and the Presidential Economic Coordinating Council, should be able to deliver and get us out of this economic downturn. I believe the time is right, and government needs to put speed to action in actualizing what it has stated is going to do, which, by the way, I think is commendable, was agreed with the private sector.
Before I let you go, you've criticized the issue of high rates of taxes and levies and how it impacts the manufacturing industry. But on the other side, we are expecting implementation of recommendations from the Taiwo Idele-led committee. Do you see us having a headway out of this issue of taxes and levies by appropriately implementing the outcome or the resolutions from that committee or the submissions from that committee? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. I also say that I'm a proud member of that committee.
That's true.
Yeah, the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform. We have entered the implementation stage. If there is anything that has given me more confidence in this administration's capacity to deliver on what can revamp the economy, is the success of this Presidential Committee. Mr. President took a bold step. I think this one is probably bolder than all the boldness that Mr. President has shown. If we are able to implement the recommendations of this, our committee, I can assure you, Tolu, that Nigerian economy will witness tremendous progress. Because the president gave us almost an open check to write on it what is needed at this time. Apart from the taxes, I mean, which is going to be reduced to less than 10, there are some reforms that will come, that will require amendment of laws and even the Constitution itself, such that we are able to streamline our fiscal policy, our tax regime, and even accountability in governance, so that the citizens of Nigeria will be able to take by themselves the decision to pay tax. You have the reason to pay tax because you'll be able to clearly monitor and decipher how the monies you have paid as tax will be spent. I mean, in one of the surveys that we had, we saw that people believed that they would not pay tax just because they didn't know what would be done with it and that it was difficult to pay tax. So if our recommendations are implemented, we'll not only streamline the taxes, people will be able to gauge and monitor how their tax is being spent. It will be easier for you to pay tax. You will understand what tax you are paying, and you'll be able to determine it even before you are paid. We will bring respect to the taxpayer, and we will completely obliterate the use of discretion on the part of unscrupulous elements that have made it difficult for our tax system to work, where we spend a lot to collect and we collect little. When you compare us with other countries, or even in Africa, that are smaller economies and they have lower volumes of trade exchange, they collect more taxes and they free more of their citizens from paying tax. So, I mean, the reforms will be the most significant contribution of Tinubu's administration that have